Welcome back, everybody, to this week's edition of the FSI PGA DFS Pick Show. I am your host, John McNutt, aka John Cool 19, here to talk Zozo Championship. The PGA Tour is making its international swing over the next handful of weeks. So some interesting courses, some interesting lock times. Certainly pay attention to that over the next couple of weeks. But some really fun events. This week is a no-cut event. There is a very small field, under 80 golfers this week. Everyone will get to play all 4 rounds. So let's kind of jump in and look at what the course is going to show the players this week. This is Accordia Golf Narashino Country Club. This is in Chiba, Japan. The course is par 70, about 7,000 yards, although we expect it to play a little bit longer than that. The course is quite soft right now, so really I'm anticipating the longer hitters to have an advantage on this 7,000 yard. That isn't the longest length on tour here, but certainly it's going to play longer than that based on my expectations here. Bent grass greens is what the players will contend with as well. Some interesting notes on this course. They are tree-lined fairways. They are narrow fairways too. Very difficult to hit the fairways here, and really it becomes pretty important. So I'm including some fairways gained into my modeling this week. Ball striking is absolutely important, being able to get around this course. And then the around the green play is much more important here than we see week in and week out. Again, the length will be part of that. The difficult to find fairways will end up with a lot of golfers needing to scramble and being able to get up and down for par or for birdie on these par 5s. There are only 3 par 5s, but there are 5 par 3s this week, so it's a bit interesting on the setup there. So I'm including a little bit of par 3 scoring in my model as well. But kind of the main factors I'm looking at: ball striking around the greens, scrambling, and drive distance. You can go ahead and toss a bogey avoidance into your modeling as well. This is a difficult course. We're going to not see, like we saw last week, the winner is not going to be at 23 under par. That's just not going to happen. Although shout out to Tom Kim for playing last week and playing super well. We will see Tom Kim in the field again this week. Certainly if you want to play the hot hand, he is an option. But let's go ahead and jump into some of my favorite plays this week. A couple guys right at the top of the leaderboard. I'm going to start off talking Sungjae Im. He is 10,000 on DraftKings, scoring 9-1 odds in the outright market. The form's really good for Sungjae. He's got 6 straight top 15 finishes. 3 of those were runners-up. That includes the 3M Open, the Wyndham, as well as the Tour Championship just a handful of weeks ago. He was also 7th place last week at the Shriners. We know he's in good form. The course history fit is very good for him as well. He was 3rd in 2019, although he did not play here last year. So this course has only hosted the Zozo Championship twice. That's 2019, then a skip for COVID, and then 2021 they played here as well. So Sungjae played really well in his one appearance. When it comes to looking at comp courses, quite a few courses jump out this week: Torrey Pines, as well as Caves Valley, Punta Cana, the Country Club of Jackson, Harbor Town, just a few that I have included in my modeling for comp courses. He rates number 2 overall in that. Sungjae Im is excellent on par 3s, and if you really dig into the last 36 rounds of his stats, he's number 1 ball striking in this field, 15th around the greens, 15th on approach, and 27th distance. He is checking all of those boxes. The only concern I have, besides maybe some ownership, although everyone will be higher owned in this smaller field, that is he did play all 4 rounds here this last week, now having to make the long trip over to Japan. That is maybe a small concern, something you would not need to worry about if you're playing this next golfer, and I will be playing lots of him. That is Hideki Matsuyama. Nobody has better course history than Hideki. He has played here both of the times the Zozo made its trip to this course. He finished 2nd in 2019. That was Tiger Woods, the year he won. And Hideki Matsuyama won this event last year. He comes in with decent form, although you always worry about some injury concerns with Hideki Matsuyama. But his last event was the Fortinet Championship. He finished 25th. Before that, 11th at the Tour Championship. He did have that withdrawal shortly before that, so a small concern with him. But I absolutely see Hideki Matsuyama making a comeback this week. It looks like he is misspelled on this slide. That is Hideki Matsuyama, not Tsuyama. The putter has been gaining strokes over the last 3 events. That is not typical Hideki, so I'm going to ride the hot putter. He's excellent on difficult scoring courses. He comes in my modeling. I talked about Sung J.M. was number 2 on comp courses. Hideki Matsuyama is number 1 in my modeling when it comes to those comp courses. He is top 5 also on par 3 scoring. And then over his last 36 rounds, 10th ball striking, 23rd around the greens, top 10 are on approach, and 11th scrambling. And that bogey avoidance I mentioned earlier, he is 7th in this field over the last 36 rounds. I think you can probably jam both these guys in a GPP lineup, playing with some of the guys lower down, maybe at the end of the 7K range plus a 6K guy or so. Both of these guys will be highly owned in my player pool. I like them both a ton this week. Jam them in if you can. Now talking about some value plays and maybe some ownership pivots for your DraftKings lineups as well. First value play I'm going with, that's EMILIANO Grillo. He's another golfer who actually played all 4 rounds this past week, so maybe some concerns as far as his endurance, but really he plays a ton of golf. He is a younger guy. I think he absolutely will be able to stand up just fine. He's 7,700 on DraftKings. I really love that price. 50 to 1 on the outright market. He's made his he made all 3 cuts at the events to start this season, and that includes 5th at the Sanderson Farms. His course history, he was 30th in 2019, 73rd last year, so towards the bottom, but I think this course still does fit him pretty well. One thing I really like about EMILIANO Grillo is that his putter is absolutely coming around. He used to be known as a guy who just could not putt. But the long term, he does lose putting strokes on bent grass greens. But if you look, he's gained in 7 straight measured events on the putting surface. I like that a lot. In his last 36 rounds, he's 16th ball striking, 14th on approach. He's top 20 distance, top 20 bogey avoidance, and top 5 par 5 scoring. There are 2 par 5s on this course that are very, very easy. One is over 600 yards and going to be quite difficult. But those easy ones, I think, are must when it comes to scoring on this difficult course. Another value play I'm looking at this week, not on the slide, that's Patrick Rodgers. He was 28th last week. He ranks 8th in distance and top 20 scrambling and bogey avoidance. He is a very good putter on bent grass greens, so I like him also as an option. I don't think he'll be very highly owned either. So a couple pivots that I'm looking at. Christian Bezadenhout at 8K. He is coming in maybe around 5% ownership in this small field. That is absolutely excellent leverage on the field. That is about 1/3 of Sebastian Munoz and Sepp Straka that are right next to him in the DraftKings pricing. He's a really good scrambler, and he is in form as well, 39th and 20th over the last 2 weeks. I'm showing for Christian Bezadenhout on the PGA Tour. His last missed cut was in June. I like that a lot. Obviously, nobody will be missing the cut this week, but I like that consistency out of a guy that's going to be 1/3 of the ownership of some of the more popular options right around him. Another guy that I've been playing week in and week out the last month or so, that is Mark Hubbard. He's 7,700 on DraftKings. I'm looking at maybe a 6% ownership on DraftKings, and that is even with the great form. His last 3 events, 21st, 5th, and 28th. I could absolutely hammer that again, especially at the 6% ownership. If you look at guys around him, maybe Putnam or Grillo, more popular options, right about that same price, he's going to be 1/3 of them. 1/3 of Patrick Naismith as well, or sorry, Matthew Naismith. So I think those are all guys that have a decent upside as well, but Mark Hubbard is going to be way lower owned in my opinion, so I think that is a great pivot option. And I mentioned Patrick Rodgers as well as a value option. He's looking at maybe 4% ownership. That's like half of Brendan Steele, Matthew Wallace, a couple guys that have played well on this course. But I would take Patrick Rodgers at that ownership also. He's a great scrambler, very long driver. I like all of that about him. So certainly some guys to keep in mind when it comes to trying to round out your GPP lineups, especially at this event with such a small field. You need to be able to make yourself a bit more unique and not just play all of the chalky options. So I think each of these three guys give you an excellent chance of having a unique lineup and gaining quite a bit of leverage on the field at those ownerships. So that is it for the picks this week. We will be talking in the Discord chat about weather. Looks like it could be wet and windy on Thursday, and absolutely going into Friday, some wind as well, probably quite a bit nicer on the weekend. But let's see if we can maybe get a little bit of a wave stack that could give us an advantage on the classic slate on DraftKings. Also be looking at ownership. I will post everything in the Discord. That Discord link can be found either at our website, that is fsidfs.com, or you can use our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS and find the Discord link there to get all access to all of that behind the scenes information. We'll also post a core tomorrow, our top plays for cash, GPP, tiers, and then showdown all week long. So yeah, absolutely join us there. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to post them right here on YouTube. I'll be answering anything that you have. Really looking forward to this week. Going to be a nice Wednesday night start to the week and not having to go all afternoon on Sunday like we did last week on the West Coast to find out who wins, but much earlier finish if it comes to that. So really excited. Join us again in the Discord and good luck this week.